Welcome to Sarat Chandra IAS Academy, where your dreams are our mission. This is Yatharth here. Today we'll be discussing important current affairs as well as mapping. Let's start with a certain important weather phenomena, that is atmospheric river phenomena. So why is it in news? California, US is currently grappling with an extraordinary weather phenomena known as an atmospheric river. Now this phenomena is also known as Pineapple Express storm. So please remember this name, that Pineapple Express storm is what? So it's also known as atmospheric river phenomena. So which has the potential to unleash up to 8 trillion gallons of rain over the state. Now let's talk about this. So it's a long, narrow band of moisture-filled air. So as it is narrow, it means that it is also more intense. Moisture-filled air that transports significant amount of water vapor from the tropics to higher latitudes. So please also remember the direction, tropics to higher latitudes. All right. The atmospheric river is often associated with a certain type of air mass system, that is empty or maritime tropical air mass. So these can make three statements in the prelims question. All right. So please be aware that such type of statements can appear. Now, when these rivers make landfall, the atmospheric river, when they make landfall, they release this moisture as intense precipitation. That basically means rain, which can manifest as either rain or snow depending on the altitude and temperature. Precipitation means the falling of the water vapor from sky to the ground. Alright, it can either be rain or snow depending on the altitude and temperature. The water vapor they carry is roughly equivalent to the average flow of water at the mouth of the Mississippi River. So when they make landfall and release all the water, they can cause extreme flooding. Alright, so this is the disaster that this process may cause. So it can also be covered under disaster management. Alright, now let's talk about the Pineapple Express. So the Pineapple Express is well-known example of atmospheric river storm that bring heavy rainfall to the US west coast, particularly California. This name originates from the fact that these storms draw moisture from the tropical waters near the Hawaiian island, resembling an express train of moisture originating from the vicinity of Hawaii, which is often associated with pineapples. Alright, so Hawaii is a very small island in the Pacific, and it's a tropical island. Alright, pineapples are found there. Now, from here, the moisture-laden clouds come to the west coast of USA. A very famous city or state in the west coast of USA is California. Alright, so here it may flood because of these Pineapple Express storm. This atmospheric river is driven by a strong southern branch of the polar jet stream and transports humid, warm, empty air from as far as the Hawaiian island. Alright. Now here you can see the Pineapple Express. So Hawaii is here, and from here this air mass comes towards the western coast of the USA, towards California. Okay, let's move forward and see what is the significance of this atmospheric rain. So they play a crucial role in replenishing water supplies, particularly in regions like the western United States. The heavy precipitation they can bring can contribute significantly to reservoir levels, helping to elevate means to make better. It does not only mean to increase drought conditions and ensuring water availability for agriculture, industrial and domestic use. So basically, everything is good until it is a disaster. So if something is bringing water, it will help where water is needed. Alright, so these are all the situations. So given their importance for water supply, understanding atmospheric river is essential for effective water resource management and planning. This includes strategy for water storage, flood control, allocation of water resources to meet various demands. And in a sense, what is the best management for disaster? Alright, that channelizing the force. So if there's a lot of water and you can channelize the water into different various pathways, then it will not create a disaster. So these practices also can be considered in the, such as let's say flood control. It can also be considered in the disaster management itself. Intrinsically, its nature is like that. Okay, let's talk about atmospheric river contributing to maintain a balance in the hydrological cycle by transporting. Hydrological cycle is the water circulation cycle. by transporting large amount of water vapor from the tropics to higher latitudes. This helps to redistribute moisture across different regions, supporting ecosystem and agricultural productivity. Now let's talk about the difference between atmospheric rain and the rain or river, atmospheric river in the sky and on the land. So unlike a visible water body, an atmospheric river is an invisible elongated corridor in the sky. So it's basically a river in the sky, you can say, but it's not visible, unlike that on the ground. So on ground, why it's visible? Because what flows inside this is water. All right, now water is in liquid form here on the ground, but in the sky it's in vapor form. So that's why it's invisible, but the formation is similar. That is why it's called atmospheric river. So it carries large amount of water vapor, influencing weather patterns and precipitation. Now, to clear a myth, they are not limited to the US West Coast system. They can also occur worldwide. These river of moisture can stretch thousands of miles and affect regions like the UK, Ireland, Norway, as well as China. Just a second. Okay. So atmospheric river often makes the rainy season in China, known as Mayu season. So this can also come as a prelims statement. Please remember. All right. So while they only account for 17% of storm on the US West Coast, atmospheric river contributes significantly to California's precipitation, snowpack and major floods. They are predictable and can be forecasted up to a week in advance. So that is a very good form of, let's say, disaster or disaster phenomena, which can be forecasted up to 7 days in advance. Unlike some very quick phenomena such as tsunami, etc. All right, which create more trouble. So this may create equal trouble but have better management practices. Now let's talk about what is an air mass. We are talking about the empty type of air mass. All right, the maritime type. So let's talk what is air mass. So air mass is a large body of air, first of all, with a relatively uniform temperature, humidity and pressure characteristics. These masses of air form over source regions where they take on the characteristic of the surface below due to low wind speeds. When air masses move, they can influence weather patterns in the region they move into. So this is very natural thing. Of course, if something is moving in some other area, it will influence this. So potentially leading to the formation of storms when they interact with other air masses. Now let's talk about different type of air masses. One is the continental tropical, that is CT. So these air masses originate over hot and dry continental regions. They are characterized by high temperature and low humidity. So please remember the continental. So how you will remember the continental? That it is hot and dry. Let's say you all must have gone to continental restaurants. You can just say Chinese. All right, so China is hot and dry. Or Chinese food is hot and dry. Let's talk about the continental polar. Okay, so it's not in the tropical zone, it's in the polar zone. So originating over cold and dry continental regions, CP air masses are characterized by cold temperature and low humidity. So this can be, let's say, Russia. Now, the one we were talking about is maritime tropical, that is MT. So these air masses form over warm and moist oceanic regions, so such as Hawaii. All right, from where the Pineapple Express storm is coming in the California. Now talk about the maritime tropical. These are empty. So we have already seen this. All right, the high warm temperature and high humidity. Okay. Now one is the maritime polar, that is MP. So originating over cold oceanic regions, MP air masses are characterized by cool temperature and high humidity. So this can be in, let's say, more southern region. So here you can see MP. All right, so continental Arctic. So this will be more towards the Arctic region or Antarctic region. All right, here you can see a map. These are the ME type. ME means maritime and equatorial. Maritime tropical and maritime polar. All right, continental polar, continental tropical, and here continental tropical here again. All right, so there are multiple types. So continental 3 types, equatorial, polar, and there is maritime, tropical, and Arctic and Antarctic type. All right, so various different types are there. Here's continental, Antarctic, and upper side is continental, Arctic. So there are various different type of air masses. Now question can come from where? What is the characteristic of air masses? Alright, this is a very important characteristic from where we must take care. So air masses originate over the vast flat surfaces, first of all, having uniform temperature and humidity. So uniform is the key here. Alright, it's very, very important. They can just change the word to variable and you will not be able to figure out the difference. So air masses travel slowly over hundreds of kilometers from their source region. So this is very natural, no need to remember. As the air masses move away from the source region, their chief characteristics of temperature and humidity undergo large scale changes. So this also you must remember as a statement. Alright, they affect the weather condition of the areas visited by them. Again, very natural, no need to remember. So when two air masses of different temperature and humidity approach each other, they do not intermingle. Okay, they do not intermingle. Please remember, not here. Not intermingle. But if front is formed between them, okay, please remember this characteristic of the air mass, very important characteristic, 5-star. Alright, weather conditions change abruptly at the front. The front keeps two approaching air masses separate from each other. Remember, they do not meet or make a, let's say, intermingling. Now the science behind atmospheric rivers, let's study in a very shallow manner. So air is a flowing column of condensed water vapor. We all have seen this. Just see that they are approximately 250 to 375 miles wide average. So in geographical terms, it is not a lot. That's why they are intense. Okay, they move with the weather and are present somewhere on Earth at any given time. That means they always exist. Right now, it's just showing its colors in California. So it's the California here on the western coast of America, and here it's raining because of the change in the temperature and humidity at the Californian side because it is dry. All right. Now let's talk about another news which encompasses that India is to develop 6 mega ports by 2047. All right. So in a recent update by Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways, significant plans have been outlined for the development of mega ports in India by 2047. Now 6 port clusters have been identified for development as mega ports by 2047 are 4 plus 2. 4 plus 2. 2 are mega and 4 are just mega, let's say. Alright, so what are the 4 ones? They have annual capacity exceeding 300 million tons per annum of import, export, or let's say travel. And the 2 ports are capacity exceeding 500 million tons per annum. 1 million is 10 lakh. Alright. Now, 4 ports which have the capacity exceeding 300 millions, they are Cochin Vizhinjam Port, Galathia South Bay Port, Chennai Kamarajar Cuddalore Port Cluster, Paradeep and other non-major port cluster. And 2 port clusters have been identified with capacity exceeding 500 million ton per annum. So which ones are these? Deen Dayal Trust Port and Tuna Tekra, and Jawaharlal Nehru Port, JNPT and Vadhavan. So this is port in Maharashtra. All of these are in Maharashtra actually. All 4, Deen Dayal Port Trust and Tuna Tekra, all of these are in Maharashtra. So major ports are enhancing capacity and infrastructure as a part of the Maritime Amritkal Vision 2047. Infrastructure projects are underway via PPP, public-private partnership. So mostly the port system is going to the Adani. Now talking about the internal resources, they focusing on the port development. So the first port system we see here is the Cochin Vizhinjam Port Cluster. Now as we see, it's in the Kerala. The Cochin is a very famous place in the Kerala. So this port cluster has been identified as having exceeded let's say carriage capacity of 300 millions ton per annum. And there is a second port here, Vizhinjam Port. So the Vizhinjam International Seaport Project, which is India's first deep water transshipment port, has gained attention recently as the first cargo ship to arrive at the port. So it's also India's first deep water transshipment port. Please remember this. I'm talking about the second one, that is Deen Dayal and Tuna Tekra. So this is Tuna Tekra terminal and this is Deen Dayal Port Trust. This is all of these in Gujarat. The JNPT and all, just a second, I'll make a correction here. This is in Gujarat and the Jawaharlal Nehru and Vadhavan are in Maharashtra. Alright, now let's talk about other ports. So this is Deen Dayal Port, Kandla Port, that is in Gujarat. It's very famous because of multiple drugs have been caught here recently. Alright, second one is Just a second. The Tuna Tekra, that is also located here only in the Gujarat. Now we talk about the JNPT as well as Vadhavan port. It's under construction. Okay, the next ones are the Murmugaon port. This is famous port of the Goa, and New Mangalore port. These are very important ports of India. The Paradip we all know. This is in Odisha. Visakhapatnam port here. And there are two important ports which we are talking about in this lecture, the Kamarajar port and the Chennai port. This Kamarajar port was asked in prelims 2023. So ports are very important topic. So Cochin port here. All right. So all these are very important ports. This is VO Chidambaram port. Let's move forward. And this Galathea Way was much in news last year. It is in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So please remember, it is the southernmost side of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. And there are other bays as well, the Campbell Bay, the Joginder Nagar, as well as the Galathea Bay. The Galathea Way is very important. And Campbell Bay National Park is also in the Great Nicobar Island. Great Nicobar Island. So Campbell Bay is also here and Galathea Bay is also here. I hope you can all see the Galathea Bay. It is here in the south. Alright. Now we talk about the Vadhavan port. So it's in Maharashtra. It's under construction. Alright. We saw two ports in the Gujarat also. The Deen Dayal and the Tuna Tekra. Alright. Let's move forward. Here you can see all at once the Deen Dayal or the Kandala port. The JNPT, that is Jawaharlal Nehru Port Trust, JNPA. It also came in the prelims 2023. Okay, Mormugaon Port, New Mangalore, Cochin, or VO Chidambaram, Chennai, Kamarajar, Anno Port. This was also asked in the 2023. Visakhapatnam, Paradip, and Kolkata. So these are very important. You can see here that Telangana is landlocked. It does not have any port system, and there are other multiple states. Here is Madhya Pradesh, or like Chhattisgarh. There are multiple Jharkhand, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh. So these are landlocked. They do not have any sort of ports in them. Now, very important information that ports in India are classified as major and minor ports according to the jurisdiction of the central and state government as defined under the Indian Port Act 1908. So please remember that major and minor does not mean how big the port is. Alright. It's defined as a sense of jurisdiction. Who is having jurisdiction on that port? That would define whether it is a major port or minor port. So major ports are owned and managed by the central government and minor ports are owned and managed by the state governments. Now talking about further, the Major Port Authorities Act 2021. So this was a new act. It provides for the regulation, operation and planning of major ports in India and provide greater autonomy to these ports. It replaced the Major Port Trust Act of 1963. So please remember these years as well. Alright. Or Indian Ports Act, at least remember it was in 1908. So there are 12 major ports in India. 13th major port that is under construction is the Vadhavan port. So it has been recognized and it will be developed by 2047 in Maharashtra. Now let's quickly glance over in news, that is CAR-T cell therapy. So why it is in news? So following India's approval for CAR-T cell therapy, a pioneer means the one that starts or heads the movement. Treatment for cancer, a patient recently underwent the procedure achieving freedom from the cancer cells. So it has been proven to be very, very good. So let's see what is this CAR-T cell therapy, because questions have been coming in biology very recently at a good level. Alright, recently question was asked from evolution as well, adaptive radiation as well. You saw in prelims 2023. Alright. So we'll be dealing with this news in detail in the next lecture. Let's have an introduction to what is the CAR-T cell therapy. So CAR-T cell therapy, also known as the chimeric antigen receptor T cell therapy, is a type of immunotherapy that uses a patient's own immune system to fight cancer. So it will make the T cells stronger. Alright, CAR-T therapy has been approved for leukemia, that is cancer arising from the cells that produce white blood cells, and lymphoma, that is arising from the lymphatic system. So CAR-T therapy are often referred to as living drugs. So this is the most important statement for prelims, that CAR-T therapy is often referred as the living drugs. Procedure, so it's a complex and personalized treatment process that involves, let's just see the procedure very quickly. So collection of the T cells. So a type of white blood cell that help fight infections are extracted from the patient blood, and the process is known as the apheresis. Please remember the name of this process. Furthermore, in the laboratory, the T cells are genetically modified to express a special protein called the chimeric antigen receptor on their surface. And the CR is designed to recognize and bind to specific antigen found on cancer cells. Expansion, that engineered T cells are multiplied in large number, and infusion, the expanded CAR T cells are then infused back into the patient's bloodstream, where they can identify and attack cancer cells that express the targeted antigen. Alright, so it makes the immune system of a person stronger artificially by genetically engineering it and give it an antigen, let's say, and fight against cancer basically. Here is the diagram, you can see in that. So more about this news we'll discuss in the next lecture. Till then, you stay tuned. This is Yatharth here signing off. Wishing you all a very good and nice day. Keep studying and have a bright day ahead. Thank you.